We are on activity 1.11 under Objective 5 in Excel Project 1A, and we're going to do a little bit of charting here. Okay, we need to select from A3 to D7. So A3 is this cell right here, and D7 is right down here. And we're going to insert a chart. Now, before we actually create the chart, a couple things we need to point out here. If you want this text here to be part of your chart, you have to include it. If you want this text here to be part of your chart, you have to include it in your selection. Now there's nothing up here, but you still have to include it. You need to select a rectangle when you're creating a chart, or pieces that will slide together and create a rectangle. If I tried doing something like this, actually we'll do this. Okay, now I'm going to hold the Control key down and select this stuff. And we're going to do what it says to do in the book. We're going to go to Insert, and we're going to do Column, and we're going to pick the default one here, the first one. And that's a weird looking chart. It doesn't look anything at all like Figure 1.24. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hit the Delete key and make it go away. Now, there's no more data here because there's nothing in this cell, but this time I'm going to select everything as one continuous selection, and I'm including this cell up here. Now I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go to Column Chart and choose the first one, a two-dimensional clustered column chart. And that's exactly what I'm supposed to get. That looks exactly like what's in the book in Figure 1.24. So we can drag the chart around by going to the edge here and getting a four-headed arrow. We can resize it by going to one of the corners or one of the sides here and getting a two-headed arrow to resize. And we want to put this in the upper left-hand corner right in cell A10. Okay. Now, whenever you got the chart selected, we get chart tools appearing up here on the top, and there's a lot of them, so they're on 3 different tabs labeled Design, Layout, and Format. Now, if I click off of the chart tools go away. If I click back on the chart tools reappear. And notice when I click on the chart as well, you also see over here some rectangles appearing around parts of your data. The blue rectangle will surround the data points, the numbers that you're plotting, and then we get kind of a purple outline around this set of labels, and it looks like a green outline around this set of labels. And on item number 6 here, we want to go to the Design tab of the ribbon, which is right here. And we want to switch our row and column data around. It put the labels in column A across the bottom, and it put the months over here in the legend. If I tell it to switch the row and the column data, it puts the months across the bottom, and it puts the labels from column A over in the legend here. And we've got some chart layouts up here. If I click on the More button to see more of them, it shows me a whole gallery of different styles. I'm on the wrong one. I should be on chart layouts here. This shows me a whole gallery of chart layouts, and kind of see a little preview here. It shows you what other stuff it's adding, and we're going to choose layout number 1, and that adds a title for us. And all we have to do is select this, and we can go up here and we can type let's try it again, and hit enter, and it changes the title if we have the title selected when we go up here to type. Now you can also just go down here and click on it, and you've got a little one-line text editor here that you can use to edit as well. Okay, now we're going to look at the Styles Gallery, which is this big group over here, and there's a More button for it, and he wants us to pick style number 26. They're all numbered, and this is style number 26. It kind of gives the bars a little 3D kind of effect here, and you see the bars change. And that takes us to the end of activity 1.11, and we'll just save it. And we'll go on to activity 1.12. We're going to create something called Sparkline. Sparklines are relatively new in Excel. And a Sparkline is a little chart that appears in one cell. So we're going to go up to, it says select B4 to D7. That's where our data is. And we want to go to the Insert tab. And there's a Sparklines group over here. And we want to create a line Sparkline. And we get this dialog box that says select your data, which we've already done. And then we have to decide where we want it to go. And I want it to go in these cells right here. I don't need to type them. If the cursor is here, I can just go drag over those cells and it'll put that in for me. Don't worry about the dollar signs right now. That's the range F4 to F7. And click on OK. And I've got some little trend lines there that are just the size of one cell. Okay. Now when we have Sparkline selected, we get this little Sparklines tab up here, and there's one tab under it labeled Design. And we've got some options here about how our Sparkline is going to look. And I want markers to appear in there, so it puts little dots in for each data point. And the other thing we're going to take a look at here is styles. And let's click on the down arrow here. And we want the one that says accent 4. Accent 4. Darker 25%. So that would be this one right here. Click on OK. And now we're done with activity 1.12. Activity 1.13 is changing views, creating a footer, and using print preview. Okay, make sure the chart is not selected, which it is not. Click the Insert tab, and in the text group, click the Header and Footer button. This is just like it is in Word. Go to the Insert tab and go to Header and Footer. Well, it's almost the same as it is in Word, I guess. Word had 2 buttons for this, and Excel has 1. And what it does is 2 things. It changes your page view. If you go down here and look, we are now in page layout view instead of normal view. And we get some header room at the top, and if you scroll down, we get some footer room down at the bottom, and it divides the header and the footer each up into 3 equal sized parts. And what we want to do is we want to go to the footer, and we want to be in the left part of the footer right here. And let's click our header and footer tools here. This should look kind of familiar. This is similar to what we had in Word. And what we want to do here is we want to insert the file name. It's a little bit simpler. Now it doesn't actually show the file here. It's got a little code here. And when it's time to print, it'll look at that code and it'll put the file name in for you. And now we're going to scroll up a little bit here. And it wants us to check and see if our chart is centered under the data, and I guess I can pull it out just a little bit here, and now it's pretty close to being centered under the data. And okay, that looks pretty good. That's pretty close to what he has in the book. I guess he wants this one moved in just a little bit, and maybe this one moved in just a little bit. But now it's centered, and now it says click any cell to deselect the chart. And let's go to the Page Layout tab, and there's a Page Setup group there, and we're going to click on the Margins button, and we're going to do Custom Margins, and it takes us this page setup dialog box, and down here, we're not actually going to change the margins. What we're going to do is we want to center this on the page horizontally, so we'll have even margins on the left and the right. And then we can click on OK. And we're going to go to our File tab, and we're going to go to our Backstage view, which is what clicking on the File tab does. And on the Info tab, go to Properties, and we show Document Panel. This is like it was in Word. And we go up here, and we're going to put in our name. And for Properties, let me see, in the keywords, we want accessory sales. And then we're going to close that over here on the far right. And click the File tab again, and this time we're going to do a print preview. Click on the print button here. And we'll get a preview of what our document's going to look like over here on the right side. And notice it did change that code to the name of the file. And I'm going to go back to the Home tab. We're not going to actually print right now. And unless you're doing headers or footers, you probably want to be in normal view most of the time, which is this first button down here on the status bar on the bottom right. And now we can save our workbook.